At Destiny, I have to say I really don't think you did well in your debate against Glenn. All of your arguments predicated on legal definitions and opinions, which is good, but you fail to give a good argument for why Trump isn't being charged with insurrection. If a lawyer, a legal expert, doesn't believe he can secure a guilty conviction for insurrection, then how can you make the claim that Trump was involved in insurrection without admitting the legal system is broken? The problem, my dude, is that I think to explain this to you, it would, in the course of a debate, it would take a long time. And I don't have the time. I just don't have the Glenn wouldn't give me the time. Glenn knows the answer to this because he was a lawyer, is a lawyer. I don't know if he still has his legal license or whatever. Just like he knew the answer for the when he tried to pass off that bullshit about Trump just getting advice from his lawyers, ignoring the fact that he was soliciting crimes from these lawyers, which is one of the few times. Is it called the conspirator exception? The co-conspirator exception to hearsay? Oh, I don't know if it's this. No, it's not this. There's a name for an exception for attorney-client privilege. Is it the crime? It might be the crime fraud exception. Yeah, for him bringing that up about he's just talking to his lawyer. It's just legal advice. That can never be. It's like bullshit. That can never be. That you can never commit a crime if an attorney tells you to do something. That's a ridiculous argument. It's convincing to people like you because you're fucking retarded. And you don't know. Sorry. Hold on. Let me drink some Soylent. My bad. Okay. Let me soy up. On one end over here, you have this is like the real world, okay? In the real world, the way that we decide if things happen or don't is largely based on our subjective feelings and interpretations of events. In the real world, we don't have to prove a case in front of a judge or jury. So, for instance, let's say that I come home, and let's say that my girlfriend was supposed to meet me at 8 o'clock at home, and she ends up staying 2 hours late to work. And let's say that she's done this 5 times, and let's say that a week ago I caught her texting some guy I didn't want her talking to. Okay, and then she comes home 2 hours late, right? I might say at the end of that, listen, you're cheating on me. Get the f out. Okay. Now, this is a possible thing. I'm sure it happens. People make these decisions. None of this would hold in a court of law. You don't have any hardcore evidence. You don't have any direct evidence, no witness testimony. Your circumstantial evidence is weak at best. The charge of cheating is very serious. You can't you have no proof of any of this, and you really don't, right? But in the real world, we don't look for proof like that. That's not how it works. In the legal system, things work a lot differently there. So, for instance, maybe it's the case that a man rapes a woman. Maybe it's the case over here that a guy rapes a woman, okay? Let's say that she witnesses it, and then let's say that she tells 2 friends. She witnesses her own rape, obviously, because he raped her, right? Then let's say these 3 people, let's say these 2 people actually decide to go to the police. She doesn't want to go to police because she's got an outstanding warrant, okay? So these 2 go to the police. They talk to the police. The prosecutor, the district attorney, gets the facts of the case, and he looks at the facts. And this might be what a prosecutor thinks, okay? These are some things that could happen, okay? So she got raped. She has direct evidence of it. Let's say that she waited 2 weeks to go in and report it. She didn't get a rape kit done, but she said she got raped, okay? Well, let's say this friend over here is a crackhead. Maybe she's done crazy shit in the past. Maybe she's got a criminal record, and they don't want to bring in their other friend because they're worried about her having a warrants open for her or whatever. So they don't want to reference her. They don't bring her. The prosecuting attorney might look at this case and they might go, okay, listen, we can charge this guy with rape, but if he goes and he gets a good defense attorney, if I have to stand in front of a jury and try to argue that this woman who got raped, let's say even she's a hooker, and she's got a friend here, history of, drug crimes or whatever. And this guy, let's say this guy's character is actually, morally, in terms of society, he's an upstanding person. Let's say he's he could be a college professor, no criminal record, blah, blah, blah. If I take this case in front of a jury, the chances that I'm going to be able to convince every single member of that jury that this hooker and this crackhead with a criminal record, that these 2 people's testimony alone, one who's only hearing this secondhand from a friend, and then one from a hooker, I don't know if I can convince a jury of 12 people that this guy actually did it. So But I do have this woman saying she was raped, and she did tell a friend. Maybe what I can do is, maybe I can charge this guy with a crime, or bring him in for questioning, or no, we'll even say charge him with a crime. Maybe we can bring him in and say, listen, you're looking at this potential crime. If you want, you can plead this down to, I don't know what you would plead down to. Have you ever plead to like assault or something? You plead this down to another crime, okay? We're gonna let you charge and plead guilty to assault and battery or something, okay? So, an ass bad. I don't know if you would realistically plead something like this down like this, but then let's say the professor thinks about it. He's talking to his defense attorney. The defense attorney's like, listen, I think if you go to court, you've got a really good chance of beating this case because the prosecution knows it. That's why they're offering this plea deal. But do you really want to go to court and do you really want to go to court being somebody? Do you really want all this testimony to the public eye? Do you want this to drag on for months and months? I think you should, it's probably in your interest to take the deal. And the professor might think about it, it's like, you know what? Yeah, I will. So you take the deal, they lose the right to sue in the future, civilly or to for the DA to bring criminal charges, blah, blah, and then you take this deal, right? This might be an example, and this is one of like a billion different ways for how an example would play out in terms of the legal system, okay? So nobody, if you have an understanding of the legal system, okay, you would never look at the professor and go like, oh, well, if you're here, why didn't they charge him with well, if you're here, if actually happened, well, why didn't they charge him with then? If they actually, right, you would never say that because it's fucking retarded. In criminal court, it doesn't work this way. The charges that you pick are the ones that you think you can prove in court, okay? You don't charge people with crimes that you think they did. You charge people with crimes that you think that you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt, or at least you have a reasonable suspicion they committed the crime, and then through discovery, you hope that you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt they've done it. And if you can't, then you drop the charge, because that's how criminal convictions work in the United States. So, when it comes to people like Greenwald, who's a lawyer, and Greenwald knows all of this, okay? Greenwald knows all of this. When he says over and over again, well, if Trump was involved in an insurrection, why didn't I charge him with a crime of insurrection? The reality is I don't even know if the insurrection crime, I don't even know like how this would work. So they're always talking about 18 U.S.C. 2383. First of all, my understanding is nobody has ever been charged with this crime or any of the preceding crimes before it. And the crime is literally whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. So there's a couple of big things with this. So one, this still doesn't actually even give us a definition of rebellion or insurrection. So J6 could be an insurrection, and this criminal statute wouldn't even get us any closer, even if he was charged with this crime. Number one. Number two, because this crime, particular statute has never been used before, and because so much, and the wording is a little bit ambiguous, or at least the part that we care about, right? What is a rebellion or insurrection? Why would you wield this criminal statute or try to deploy this against somebody when there's no history whatsoever of it ever being used? The rebellion or insurrection terms are still not rigidly defined here. And you've got other charges that you think are more likely to stick. That's probably why Jack Smith wouldn't use this particular statute. That'd be my guess. He might even specifically say it, maybe if we look at his arguments. I haven't actually looked at that before. Jack Smith, why didn't you charge insurrection, I guess? Yeah. But that would be like the answer. So in other words, you are admitting that legal experts agree you can't prove without a reasonable doubt that Trump was involved in an insurrection. They probably don't think they can prove that, correct? Or rather, I don't think we even have a federal charge that defines insurrection, so they probably think that would be a really difficult thing to like prove in court. Somebody else said, he's talking about proving it's an insurrection so that it can be barred from office. You don't have to prove that there was an insurrection to bar him from office. That's not how that amendment works.